Welcome back. Like many of you homeowners who have an attached garage on your house, my garage came with a single light bulb in the ceiling when I bought the house. This house was brand new when we bought it. And that single light really isn't enough light when you're working in the garage, which is why most of the time I worked with the garage door open so I would have natural light. But sometimes that's not possible if it's, too hot or too cold or raining. So several years ago, I replaced that bulb with a fixture that was just an LED fixture, single fixture that provided more light than that single bulb did, but the garage is still kind of dark. Especially when I need to measure something, really closely or look really closely at something. And with my failing eyes, the more light the better most of the time. So I went looking for a lighting solution. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube about those LED lights that look like the old fluorescent tubes, but they're LED and you can plug one into the end of the other one and string a bunch of them. And I found some of those at the store and I found some online. But I eventually decided against them for a variety of reasons. One was the amount of installation work that it would take to hook those up and measure and line them up. And I had to take into account the area where the garage door would, come when it was open. And sometimes I want to use the light while the garage door is open. And if they're on the part of the ceiling where the garage door is going to cover them, then that's no good. But also, if those lights ever failed, and this I think is the main reason I decided not to do that, if anything went wrong with those lights, then all those attachment points that I had to install in the garage ceiling are still there, even if I have to take those lights out. And that seemed like a lot of work. And I've had things like that fail. What I eventually settled on were these portable lights by this company, STKR. Now they make several different kinds of lights, but this very specific one has 3 folds down LED panels with a hook and a cord. And the 3 panels together are supposed to be about 5,000 lumens. I don't have a way to actually measure the light. I don't have some sort of sensor that would measure the output of the light, but I doubt that because of the comparison with the single LED panel that I had put in the ceiling before. But because this has a hook, it means I just need to install a little thing that the hook can hook on, and then I can take the hook off if I want to. If the light ever fails, I can take it off and replace it. Plus, because it's just a hook, I can easily take it off of there and use it for something else, whether on a light stand or setting on its side or whatever. Here's a little footage I did right when I was unboxing it, showing you all the different sides of the box. One thing that I liked about this is it had a really long electrical cord. The panels fold out easily and fold back in easily, but when you put them in one place, they tend to stay there, and it can set on its side as you're seeing here. And here I'm showing about how bright it appears to be, but it's hard to tell on the cell phone camera because it adjusts immediately for the amount of light. So I'm trying to use my hand and the table to show how much light it's putting out there and turning it off, turning it on. But again, the camera on the phone adjusts pretty quickly to do away with any changes that the light has added. It can also set on its bottom like this with the clip folded in, so it could, shine up underneath something if I needed it to, or the clip folds out and it can hang from something. And what I did was bought 3 of them. And I bought 3 little eye hooks or eyelet screws, whatever you call them. There's a screw on one end that I could screw up into the joist right above the garage drywall ceiling, and then a loop on the end that you can put that hook through. But I didn't want them right up at the ceiling, so I put a little bit of a bungee cord from the hook in the ceiling to the level that I wanted these to hang from. They're just high enough I can reach above my head and turn them on, but I can walk under them without worrying about bumping my head on them. And here's a little footage of what they look like above my head. This is before I gathered the cords up, and they're still hanging there, but it's high enough that I can walk under it. And these are all 3 of the lights hanging from the little hooks on the ceiling and plugged into a little 3-prong thing that plugs into the same outlet that our garage door opens. And because they're LEDs, they don't draw a lot of power. I did test. They're able to all 3 be on while the garage door operates. There's a little plug that they all plug into. And I tried to do comparison photos of how bright the garage was with the old light versus with these 3 new lights. The problem was, as I said, that the cell phone adjusts for the amount of brightness. So the 2 photos looked almost the same. The shadows in the corners were in slightly different places, but even those were brought up a little bit by the HDR processing in the phone's camera. So I dragged out my old SLR and set it to where it would look relatively normal with the 3 new lights on. And this is a photo that I made in our garage with this SLR camera, Canon 60D by the way. And I stopped it down so that it wouldn't be too bright there in the center. And you can see where the lights are, and if I pull my work table out, and I usually put it right under where those lights are, it's plenty bright. And then I use that exact same setting to take a picture from the same spot with just the old garage light on. Not the old one, but the one that I replaced a few years ago, and that's what it looks like. The light itself looks bright, but the area underneath is not. And that's a huge difference. Now your eye adjusts to that light, so it doesn't look to my eye like it's that dark in the garage, but the eye doesn't have to adjust for the other ones is the point. because it's just the right amount of brightness. Would I recommend these to somebody else? There's a caveat that comes with this. I wouldn't have bought these lights if they had been at the regular price. And I wasn't looking specifically for this light, but I found one at my local big box store, and it was $29.99. And that seemed like a good price to try the light and see if it worked. And if it worked, I would get more. So I bought one and it worked, and I thought this is going to work, but I want 2 more. But that store didn't have 2 more. And so when I looked them up online, they were $80 a piece. So that threw me for a loop, and I realized I got lucky to get this one for $30, but I went to that big box store website and they were still $30, but they were out of stock. And so I kept coming back and I kept checking and I kept checking, and eventually they had 3 at a store in the next town over. So I did the thing where you can order it and pick up later today, and I ordered them and paid for them online, just 2 of them, not all 3, because I already had one. And they put it in a little locker, and I drove over to that town and got those 2 lights out of the locker. And so that's how I got 3 for this price. So all 3 together were $90 plus tax. But anywhere else I could find them, they were $80 for just one of them. So I wouldn't have spent that much, because that would have been, $240 for these 3 lights? That wouldn't have been worth it to me, and I wouldn't recommend them at that price. But if you do find them for the deal of a price that I got, $30 a piece, I think they're well worth it. They're very versatile. Like I said, with the hook, you can hang them on anything. They can set up on their end, and each one of them has an outlet in the handle, so you could string them together that way, or you can use it to plug in something else. I haven't tested with the power tool, so I don't know how much, power it can carry through that extra outlet there, but anyway, now I'm very happy with the lighting situation. With those 3 lights spread across there, I don't have to worry so much about my body being on which side of the table, causing the shadow, because that happened a lot with the other light because there was just one. And when I would lean down close to write something, measure something, mark something, my body, my head would cast a shadow there. But with these, I don't have to worry about it because there's always a light coming in from the side if I'm blocking one of them. And I've had them for a couple of months now, and I'm pretty happy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.